fellas. We're back after a week off, and now it's here. It's here every week now until the end, which hopefully ends with 3 straight championships that nobody has ever done before. That's greatness, and the Chiefs have shown to be great. The gold standard. They got the best player in the world. They got the most popular athlete in the world. By the way, is that like do you think at least maybe not popular but most known? You think Kelsey has passed LeBron in America as the most known athlete? Like more people like you think more people still know who he is, LeBron, than Travis Kelsey? Has the Taylor Swift thing swung this yet to where more people know who Travis Kelsey is than LeBron James?
I don't think so. I would think LeBron is still up a little higher. First of all, because you've got the Olympic component of it. Like, people watch the Olympics, and basketball is one of the biggest draws to the Olympics. And the shoe stuff, the high school phenom, like LeBron's one of the most famous athletes ever. So I wouldn't think that it's gone that far, but it does make me wonder, like, how far does pop stardom take you, right? Because Kelsey is now that. Kelsey is pop star famous, tangentially.
Yeah. And it's not just pop star. Like, this is the number one ultimate pop star. That is like, I think he's probably known around the world. Like, at this point, Travis is with the fandom that she has. Like, this is it. Now, he is playing the most popular sport. He's on TV in his sport that is the most watched sport than anybody else. And he is with Taylor Swift, and arguably like the biggest story of the year. Like I'm talking about outside of politics and things like that. The biggest story of the year. I think he is most definitely the most famous NFL player, and I would think LeBron is the only one that rivals him. Especially
who do you think is more famous, Tom Brady or Travis Kelsey?
Travis. I think he's more known. I think more people know who Travis Kelsey is today than Tom Brady.
Man, that's interesting. I actually don't even know. Brady was in our lives for so long and had a superstar wife of his own, like not to the same degree, obviously, as Taylor Swift, but Giselle certainly had plenty of name recognition as well. I don't know, man. I would think it's Tom Brady, but if you're in those kinds of conversations, I mean, you're talking about one of the 5 most famous football players like that we've ever seen in the history of the sport.
I think there are flat out non-sports fans that just don't even know who Tom Brady is.
Yeah, I think the case could be easily made for Kelsey being bigger than Brady now, because I also feel like unless you're a sports fan, like you don't like Tom Brady being away from the game now, like is totally like out of your mind. So maybe you saw him in passing or whatever because he was Tom Brady, but now Kelsey is just present and in your face all the time, no matter where you go.
I would tell you this. There are like how many 9 to 15-year-old girls in this country do you think know who Travis Kelsey is? Like, there's a healthy amount of 9 to 15-year. I bet you don't know who Tom Brady is.
Yeah. So this is not a perfect way to do something like this, like by any stretch. But Tom Brady has 15 million followers on Instagram. How many followers do you think Travis Kelsey currently has?
He's rising. He probably had, 10?
6.8 million followers, which is like unbelievable that he has 6.8 million followers. That's incredible, rising. But it's less than half of what.
I also think that Tom's got a social team that runs everything for him.
Yeah, it's rising, and I think he's probably getting into that too. It's rising.
Kelsey and Mahomes are the exact same number in terms of their
Amber,
their social media following.
Like Amber Rose has more followers than him too, but I don't think that more people know who Amber Rose is.
Until this week. Like that changed this week.
What a turn of events. All right, but I gotta be honest. Like, as we talking about Kelsey, Brady, and I will come to the forefront here, and I will take it from you guys if you tell me that this is me with a flat blind spot, or I am having homerism to an entirely crazy level that I'm not used to. I like to come at people about being fanboys, and I will be honest that maybe this is it. I I feel like the Chiefs were really disrespected in this ESPN top 100 list, and I don't know why I hate myself. I hate myself. Sort of for years, I've told you how much I hate lists, how much I cannot stand lists, but they suck my ass in every single time. Like I get a list. I've gone over all of these top 10 lists, all of these top 10 lists from executives and coaches
Talked
and
about
scouts.
top 10 quarterbacks the other day on the
Oh
day.
my God, you quarterbacks! I was in there in the corners today. I mean, I was, and I'm going down the honorable mention and the receiving votes. I am in that thing for those scoring at home. Trent McDuffie was 6 and L'Jarius Sneed was 4. But and I hate them, and I hate them. I think they're cheap and easy to do, but I can't get enough of them. And I'm sorry, I felt like the Chiefs were disrespected. It is the top 100 in the last 25 years. So anybody that played from January 1st, 2000 up to this point that had, whatever roles. So like Jess Jordan played in that time frame, but his years in the 90s don't count here. So like you get this. I'm sorry, Patrick Mahomes was 18. I thought maybe I'm bullish, but I feel top 10, but at least top 15. He was 18 with Shaq just in front of him. Like he was 18. I mean, I don't know, man. 3 Super Bowl MVPs, three Super Bowls in the most popular sport, playing the most difficult position in sports, especially team sports. 18? I thought it was a little disrespectful. I thought it was maybe disrespectful is strong. I thought it was low. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think his position and what he plays and everything that's on them. I think I would have put him in the top 10, but I at least would have had him in the top 15.
I think the tough part is like when I started going through it, because initially my reaction was the same, Ron, where it was like, oh, come on, you got to have Mahomes a little higher than this. But then I thought about it and I was like, okay,
I
who am I putting him?
I almost scrolled past him because I was trying to get.
Who am I going to put him above, right? Because like, okay, so starting at 10, Kobe Bryant. I think he will pass Kobe, and I don't think it's going to take that much longer to pass Kobe. I don't know that, like, if you take their careers, if Patrick Mahomes' career ended today, I would not have Mahomes above Kobe Bryant. If you just look at, like, the entire resume for Kobe versus Mahomes, I think you would have to be honest and say we're going to go with Kobe. Djokovic. It's an individual sport. Same for Nadal. It's hard to compare those two, but given where their resumes are, where they're at in their respective careers, I get it. That's a more than reasonable argument to have for both of those guys. Cristiano Ronaldo. Okay. Again, unbelievably accomplished. You're on mute right now.
I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you right now. I don't have the soccer guys as well. All right. I know the names. I don't have the soccer guys as well.
You're familiar with Ronaldo, though.
I know who they are, but I don't know them. Like I'm mentally like, come on, Usain Bolt, stop it. All right, go through.
So we go from there, and it's basically basketball players that we're mostly going to be talking about. Steph Curry, Tim Duncan, Shaquille O'Neal. Those are the 3 basketball players in front of him. Katie Ledecky, whatever. You can go one way or the other. Like I could have him over her. That's fine. Those 3 basketball players, that's where I think it becomes really interesting, and I have a hard time putting Mahomes above them just yet. Like Steph, I think should be higher on this list, and that's a different conversation for a different podcast so we could have if we want to talk a little bit more basketball, but I think Steph should be above, for me, Kobe Bryant. I think he should be inside of the top 10. I think Shaquille O'Neal was arguably the most dominant basketball player that I saw for any like individual stretch of time, right? And I think Tim Duncan always gets disrespected among the all-time lists because he was the most boring player in the history of basketball to watch. But if you wanted to win titles, build around that guy. He's unbelievable. I think Mahomes has a lot of the qualities of the guys that I just mentioned, especially Steph, of football. And I think there will come a point in time sooner rather than later where he passes all of those guys. But if that's his supporting cat, like those are the players that are around him, I actually think they nailed it. I think this is exactly the range that Mahomes should be at this point in his career.
Yeah, I disagree. Nailed it.
I think
Nailed it. Man.
I think that's all that it is that I was reading like the little blurb at the beginning to see how they like determined this and how they had people vote on it. And it's just says over 70,000 votes from ESPN contributors or whatever. But so if you're asking ESPN people and people that work at ESPN, you're asking like media people and you're asking like journalists and writers and stuff. And this goes back to like every argument that there ever is about like the Baseball Hall of Fame and greatness and how the games have changed and all of that. A lot of those people are probably older people who have been around the media industry for a long time. And so it's like, yeah, Patrick Mahomes is amazing. He's maybe the greatest athlete we've ever seen in the NFL, like maybe the greatest quarterback of all time. But you got to do it for 20 years like Brady did before we'll put you up there. And that's all this is. Like, I don't disagree. He should definitely be higher because he's got a case already. And I think he's already on the path to it to be a much more transcendent player than Tom Brady at the end of the day if he keeps up the pace that he's on right now.
He's the only young athlete in the top 25. Like, if you're looking for people that are early in their primes of their careers, it's basically him and Nikola Jokic in the top 30. That's it. Everybody beyond that is at the end of their career or already finished.
You got a Lewis Hamilton. What's the age on Lewis Hamilton?
He's getting up there, right? Like, he's already been passed as the best guy in F1 at this point.
Yeah, I ain't got him. I didn't have
You're not Lewis. A big Drive to Survive guy?
No, I'm not.
He's 39 years old.
I didn't have Lewis. Oh, good. He looks good in this photo. I didn't have him. I didn't have him.
He's still very good.
And I will say that is part of it with this. Like, for me, I think in terms of athlete and what he has done, I think he's past Shaq. And I understand, like, Shaq was an amazing player, and I watched all the time that he was there. And remembering, and we're talking in 2000 is when Shaq started to win those first 3 championships. But we're talking about from the full time, like Shaq, great Shaq. That probably ended like what, after year 1 in Miami, maybe year 2, right? Like that's a 2000 to 2000, and then the rest of it was like moving to drop off, then to a shell of himself. Late. So I don't know. Like Tim Duncan, I get you. I think Tim Duncan is underrated. I still just think like the position and what he did, whatever. I would have him above him. Katie Ledecky, I don't want to be disrespectful. But like I hear you with the Steph stuff. Like and these tennis guys, it's 3 of them in there. And yes, Djokovic and Nadal, like they're putting up major numbers. Now, hell, man, it wasn't but 3 of them in there. I mean, who else were they playing? I mean, it was Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic. Like, I mean, who else was there? I mean, the competition.
But that's partially like that. That's kind of the Brady thing, right? Where it's like, okay, who'd you go up against? Well, or Jordan, when you're going up against people and you're just consistently beating them every time, it's easy to say there was nobody else. It also could be a reflection of the fact that these guys are so unbelievably great that others just never got theirs. Like Mahomes has just blocked Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. They should have their titles, but they're playing in an era where Patrick Mahomes happens to exist, and so they have not gotten theirs yet.
But those guys are more clearly better than Andy Roddick. Like that was those are the other guys that he's dealing with. Like, so I don't know. And this one I was really incensed about, and maybe this is why I'm even worse than Mahomes. Like I was surprised Travis Kelce and Gronk that they weren't on the list whatsoever.
I think in general, football players were kind of done dirty on this list.
They were like, Revis is like in the 90s. I think Woodson is the final person at 100. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I mean, Travis and Gronk. I just, if you're going to have multiple receivers, you're going to have Randy on there. You have receivers like Travis and Gronk. I cannot believe they're not on this list. And I just look at some of the guys like, you mean James Harden is 67 and Gronk and Travis aren't on the list at all?
Also, was Charles Woodson Charles Woodson was amazing. Don't get me wrong.
He won the Defensive Player of the Year, and but I mean, no,
if we're gonna have 17? Is it 17 or 14 football players on this list?
I thought it was 12 football players.
12 football players on this list. Like Jason Kidd is amazing. Love Jason Kidd as a player.
Man, come on, man.
69th overall. 69th overall. We're gonna have him. Like, if you're telling me more dominant football player, more dominant athlete of the 2000s, Jason Kidd or Travis Kelce / Rob Gronkowski or Antonio Brown for that matter. Like, I'm
Antonio
going with the
Brown.
latter.
Yeah,
Julio Jones. Like, what are we doing with this? The list is just it. I think it devalued football players too much.
Aaron Rodgers at 91 is maybe the biggest travesty of them all. That Peyton Manning is 26 and Rodgers is 91. Like, that is
Rodgers is also a loser, but yeah, I do agree. I agree with the sentiment.
He's a loser, and so is Antonio Brown. But I mean, they're bad people. Maybe I'm taking too much into the position of tight end, but I just like Travis. He has receiver stuff. Like, you go to the postseason, Randy Moss is not anywhere close to him. I mean, this guy's 7-time All-Pro, 3-time champion. Only Jerry Rice is ahead of him in most any kind of receiving categories in the postseason if he hasn't passed them in them. I am just that one. I'm blown away by 7 consecutive 1,000 yards.
It does feel like whatever their like criteria or what was for all of this is that like they knocked football players for it being like such a team oriented sport. Whereas like even basketball, like, yes, that's a team sport, but it's so centered and hyper focused on the superstar player.
And it's easier for individual accomplishments, right? Like, you can win an MVP as a basketball player. You can't really win an MVP if you're a wide receiver or a tight end. Like, basically, there's only 2 positions that are eligible for Offensive Player of the Year. For the most part, it's quarterback and running back. And occasionally you'll get that wide receiver that's in there. But it does make it more difficult if you're an NFL player to have those individual achievements. And those individual achievements are what you would highlight in a list like this.
Yeah. All right, man. All right, let's get down to business. The Chiefs are in camp before I lose my mind here. The Chiefs are in camp. And I think, to me, like, the number one story in camp, the position battle is left tackle. That's the one thing where you're like, all right, what are they going to do there? Is it going to be Wanye? Is it going to be Kingsley? I don't have his last name yet, guys. But is it going to be Kingsley? Is it going to be KS?
Suamataia.
Sure. Yeah, Kingsley Suamataia. Is it going to be Kingsley? And it looks like, and sounds like, and smells like it's going to be Kingsley, the guy they got there out of BYU early in the draft. I listen, I don't care. I mean, I care who it is. I will say this. I trust if they are coming out right now and they feel like, bam, it's him, because it doesn't really seem like it's a the way they're going about it doesn't appear to be a competition. It seems like one's a starter and one's a 2. And I'll just say, I trust Andy and the crew if they feel like clearly this is our guy. And I trust that, so I don't have an issue with it. That's what I mean when I say I don't care who it is. I generally trust them. But I like the fact they've identified it, and let's put him in there and let's go. Let's go right now and let him get all the important reps right now if he's going to be the dude.
I was listening to Nate Taylor earlier this week talk about this, and I thought it was really interesting. He basically said, like, his read on the situation is that the Chiefs' plan A, B, C, like their plan going into training camp is Kingsley is your starting left tackle. Now, that could change. Like, if he has a really bad camp, maybe they decide to call up Donovan Smith. Maybe they decide to try Wanye Morris there. Like, they'll look at their alternative choices. But their number one plan, and not just like, hey, we're going to do this as a legitimate camp battle. Kingsley's going into practice number 1, getting at least most of the reps with the ones. He's going to be the one that is blocking for Patrick Mahomes. And man, all offseason, we didn't know. We kind of thought, hey, maybe they're going to go into camp. They'll let Wanye Morris battle it out. Maybe they're going to go into camp, give it a week, and they're going to sign Donovan Smith. That was kind of my belief, is that was going to be the way they would handle this. I don't have that vibe anymore. I think they're going to let Kingsley Suamataia be their starting left tackle on opening night against the Baltimore Ravens and just hope and pray that this thing goes according to plan. And I kind of like it. Like, at some point, you got to make that leap. At some point, you have to be willing to sink or swim with a young left tackle, because this is a team that has been patching that thing together basically since the moment that Eric Fisher left the team. Since he got hurt, they've been trying like hell to find their heir apparent to him. And they haven't been able to do that yet. They've tried a couple of different options, and now they have fallen onto Kingsley Suamataia. If this works, Ron, it will go down as one of the most important picks that Brett Veach has made so far in his tenure in Kansas City. Because if you get it right at left tackle, that dude will be starting there for the next decade for Patrick Mahomes. And if he is at least a plus tackle, doesn't have to be great, but a plus tackle, dude, you have now put one of the new building blocks in place for Mahomes on the offensive side of the ball, for whatever the next era of Chiefs football looks like, even beyond Travis Kelce and everybody else that is currently on the roster.
I'm just like, I'm excited. As again, Andy Reid, I trust. If Andy, like, because we know if they felt that they needed this to be a competition, it would be a competition. We would see more. We would see more of a competition. It has to say something, guys, that they have already felt comfortable to identify that this is the person that we want to give the most action to. And I think I enjoy it because I think he is clearly the more talented of the two, right? I think he is the one that has the ability to be good in both the run and the pass game. The ability to have, at least has a skill set and the ability to be plus in the run game and pass game. And yes, you're going to have some ups and downs at times, but if you get him in now and he's getting the most of the reps, and he's getting, reps real time against George, and he's getting reps real time against Chris Jones and these guys up and down, like, I think that is the best move. That is the best move to me for him. And I'd say kudos to Kingsley that he has done whatever he has needed to do to make this clear and easy, right? Now, I don't know. Maybe this is just Wanye has just crapped the bed, since he's been there with OTAs and mandatory minicamp to show it. But I would give some credit to the young dude for getting in there and showing them, hey, there is a clear difference in the route that you should go here between the two of us. And it's opened up the door for him to take that spot.
Yeah, it seems pretty evident that, like, and I think I even talked about it, like, on my 5 Things to Watch podcast that I recorded last week. Like, I had a training camp. Like, the best case scenario and plan A for the Chiefs was, like, Kingsley being a starter, like, and being the guy that you can lean on. And then Wanye, who showed a little bit last season, is a great guy to have is in that swing tackle role where they always like to have a backup there who can play both sides. And Wanye has played both sides. And then, I don't know, maybe they'll have something in Hunter Norzad down the line who he can be that other guy in the interior that they move around the line and utilize that way. But, like, this was the best option for the Chiefs. And if it works out, everybody's going to be really happy about it. And maybe Wanye is just like, has an incredible camp. And they're like, okay, like he's got to be the day one starter. But it seemed pretty clear all along that they viewed Kingsley as like, this is a guy who can start for us immediately. Like, as long as he's developing and transitioning to the NFL level well.
Oh, I tell you, it ain't been incredible yet. It ain't been incredible enough. Shoot, he needed to have an incredible OTAs and incredible mandatory minicamp because it sure hadn't been clearly good enough yet.
And let's not understate just how unlikely this would be if he is their starting left tackle on opening night. Like, if he ends up starting the majority of the games this season at left tackle for a playoff team, we all agree Chiefs said a minimum are going to be a playoff team, right? And he does it as a non-first round pick. Like, the last contender, like legitimate contender that this happened with, non-first round pick, left tackle, started the majority of the games on a contender, was like David Bakhtiari. He was a rookie in 2013 for the Packers, guys. Like, this would be unbelievably rare as a feat for a contender to be able to find a rookie starting left tackle outside of the first round. Brett Veach will have struck gold if he's able to find somebody that is worth his salt the way that they appear to think that Kingsley is in the second round. That it just doesn't happen.
In my mind, I think Brett Veach has struck gold more than just at Kingsley. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm starting to get a little uncomfortable myself. I got a clear issue. I mean, what would you call it? I'll be honest, I get kind of football wood when it comes to Jared Wiley. This young man I'm getting a little too damn excited about Jared Wiley. I mean, you talk about struck gold. I think they have struck gold here. I think they have. I'm telling you, every time I get a chance to just like Serda, I swear to God, he was just running routes on air. I don't even think he was. I think he was running 60%. And I mean, he just ran and like a dig across, and I got excited. Look at that. That's a good looking son buck. I think is what I said to myself. Look at that. He has me really excited. I mean, that looks like a weapon. I can't tell you how many times I have watched the TCU Baylor football game. It is unnecessary. Oh my God. Go watch it, BK. Go watch it and let Jared
This
Wiley.
Is something me and Serda are supposed to do, not you, man. Not you.
I know it.
This is like a Nico Remigio type of conversation. You're not the one that's supposed to be in on these.
I can't help who I love. Go and go look at it. Go watch the Baylor TCU game, and that young man and his 200 plus yards will have your heart. I mean, like you talked about, they've been trying in search for patching up that left tackle thing since Eric Fisher. They've been in search for looking for somebody to play behind Travis Kelce or beside him since Tony Gonzalez. I mean, they've tried it all. They even let that kid wear 88 to try to make it work, and they couldn't get it done. They've tried it with Noah Gray. This kid here, he looks like he has it all. The athleticism, and he's a little nasty too. Maybe a nice little inline block. I am excited about Jared Wiley.
He had a good press conference too, and sounded good, and said all the things that Chiefs fans should get really excited about in like a potential like down the line high upside player that shows some flashes. Like everybody's gonna be paying attention to like Worthy and stuff in camp, but I wouldn't be surprised if it winds up being Jared Wiley that people come away being like, Jared Wiley had a really good camp and he looks really good out there and he's making plays. Like it's what he said today about I'm trying to make sure that on third down that I'm on the field, that I don't have to come off the field on those key plays. That's exactly what you want to hear from those kinds of guys.
Okay.
What did he say? What he said today? I can't afford to have a bad day because everybody else gonna have a good day. So I got to have all good days. Damn it, Jared.
So here's my question, Ron.
Now, hey man, don't pee in my Cheerios, man. No, I don't
think I am. I think this is gonna go with you. Give me a sec here. So Isaiah Likely is the Baltimore Ravens number 2 tight end. He was a 4th round pick in 2022. He was picked 139th overall. Wiley was the 131st pick by the Kansas City Chiefs. Isaiah Likely in his first season in Baltimore as the number 2 tight end, but he did have a couple of games where he was the guy because there were a couple of games where their number 1 guy.
Mark Andrews was out. Yeah, Mark Andrews was out last year for long stretches.
His first season is not last year, but the year before. 36 catches, 370 yards on the season, and finished with 3 touchdowns. Do you think Wiley has a chance to match those numbers this year in Kansas City? If he's what you think he is.
He has a chance. It's just this is a different offense.
There's too many
than what
mouths to
Baltimore's.
feed.
There are a lot of weapons that probably going to get there ahead of them. But I honestly, and we talked about this on the pod a few pods ago. I do think that he is going to help them to rest up and in a way, kind of manage Travis Kelce's minutes and his snaps. And I think he'll get to a place where they feel comfortable having him out there more and taking whatever percentage, whether it's a 5 to 10% percentage away of snaps away from Travis, where he'll get on the field. I mean, I think if they want him, I think he can be a potential real weapon in the red zone. I think that could be a thing where the touchdowns go up. So I'm not going to go crazy 300 plus. That's a lot when you got Hollywood Brown and you got Worthy and you got Rashee Rice at some point and you got Kelce. So that's high, but I like the next couple of years, I am really intrigued, and I think he's a threat. And that kid, again, I don't mean to belabor the point, but go check out that Baylor TCU ball game, and you can see that kid can move, man. I mean, that kid can move. I'm talking like a 70-yard. Like, you remember that touchdown that Travis had against the Broncos, where he just kept going. He got some situation like that. So I mean,
this is gonna sound weird because they're obviously very different players in different positions, even. But over the past couple of seasons, and last year was a weird year for him, but Jerick McKinnon, as a receiver, has 13 touchdowns over the past 2 years. 29 games, 13 touchdowns.
Yeah.
They've got to replace that production in the red zone somehow. They've got to get that from somewhere. And some of that will probably come from like Hollywood Brown. I'm sure some of that will just go to Isaiah Pacheco now. Like there's going to be ways they're going to do that. But Jared Wiley is huge. He's unbelievably athletic. He could be the matchup nightmare type of player that they decide, okay, we're going to go 13 personnel. We're going to put 3 tight ends on the field as we get closer to the end zone. And you're not going to know where Jared Wiley is going to line up. He could line up in the backfield. He could line up at fullback. He could line up as kind of a wing type of a back. And they scheme stuff up for him and essentially use Kelce as some kind of like a decoy in those scenarios. Because I don't think you're running this stuff for like Noah Brown. I don't think he has the athleticism to be able to do it. That could be something that is interesting for the Chiefs this year.
Man, I think you make no
pre-injury Jody Fortson. Like,
man, he's above that. I may need a cigarette after this. This is music to my ears. I love it because, I mean, Worthy and Hollywood Brown and Hardman, unless they're doing like the kind of jet sweep stuff like that, I mean, they're body types are just conducive to going down and playing in the red zone like that, tight like that. And you could see a lot of double tight end sets. And if he can prove what's
early, like you could see them going 3 tight ends because it's basically one of those tight ends, or are we going with like Justin Watson? Like that's your alternative as a wide receiver if you're trying to get big receivers onto the field. And I think it just makes more sense to have those talented tight ends on there.
And we'll see if he can handle it. His athleticism and his tape shows that he can. But I mean, you can line him up. There's a lot of things that.
All right, I'm in. You got me. Yeah,
I'm telling you, man. I have got myself juiced. I might get it. I'm
really excited about this draft class in general. Like,
I might order me.
Dude, Veach is on a heater.
Yeah,
this is absurd. It's gonna
be another good one.
I'm gonna order me a shirt. I'm gonna order me a Wiley shirt.
Everybody's talking about the Lions GM and what he's done over the past few years, as they should. He's been on a heater as well. But what Brett Veach has been able to do and just completely overhauling this roster when they needed to do it, like this is the exact time when he had to have these good draft classes, is pretty remarkable.
Well,
not just like, drafting a star player here and there. Like drafting depth players that build on the roster and give you positional depth like everywhere across the board.
Leo Chanel. Like Leo Chanel is exactly what you're talking about. Really nice player. Potentially could be a starter for them this season. Was originally drafted as a depth piece and had like filled a specific role, and they needed him to win multiple Super Bowls. It's crazy.
Yeah, and his heater's different than, I think, what is it, Banks? in Detroit. His heater's different because, I mean, Detroit, they got to get some high draft picks, which means high first rounds and high second rounds, and the Chiefs haven't had that luxury. I know they got help with the Tyreek picks, but they haven't had that luxury. Hey, what'd you think about the comments from Mahomes talking about last year? Like, it was very candid. Last year wasn't fun. They won the ultimate prize, which was the goal, and I guess they reached their goal. But that's a deal. When you win it, you sit back and you look at it. Or how we got there. Yeah, as he said, it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun having to kind of sniff out field goals and scratch and claw just to get to 19 or 20 points. And it seemed like, it wasn't just, hey, the struggles of the offense, but the struggles of, like, us being there and ready to roll from the beginning and the execution, and that should have been better. I thought that was really interesting coming off a Super Bowl that he came out and was that candid with. I mean, this thing just wasn't fun last year. Probably not till they rose up the Lombardi did that thing become fun.
I think the playoffs, I think they started having fun, against Baltimore/Buffalo. I feel like they started finally having some fun there.
Yeah, he didn't have fun in that second half against Baltimore. I'll tell you that.
The fun is in the winning. That's what that was.
That was the fun. The fun was in the winning.
So I thought it was a rare, honest, and relatable moment from Patrick Mahomes. Because so often in these press conferences, man, and he's admitted this publicly now, where he says a lot, but actually says nothing. Like, he just gives you word salad, and there's nothing within his answer that is particularly interesting. And he's doing that on purpose. It's the smart thing to do, even though it annoys me. But in this answer, he was actually honest. And he said, hey, listen, that wasn't fun. That sucked. Last season was brutal for all of us involved. We did not enjoy it. And we felt that. We talked about it on the show. I hated watching this football team for 15 weeks last year. I thought it was a miserable experience. And then something shifted midway through that game against Cincinnati, and they kind of found themselves. And then for the playoffs, obviously they found who they were. I don't want to go through that again, because if it ends in a Lombardi, it all ends up being worth it. But the journey to get there last year sucked. That was not an enjoyable team to watch. It was the exact opposite experience of what we had in 2022, which was just a really delightful team to be able to follow throughout the regular season. And I think that stuff still matters. I care about the journey to get there. And I can't imagine how brutal that was for them, because watching it on the outside was miserable for most of the season.
They had a 9-week stretch where they were one of the least fun football teams to watch in all of the NFL last year. They were not an entertaining team. It was nice seeing the elite defense and everything that they were doing, even though they were lacking credit all regular season. But their offense wasn't functional for half of the regular season. They couldn't do anything, and you could see everybody getting upset about it. And it was really frustrating to watch, because you just saw them make mistakes over and over and over again, week after week. I'm sure it sucked for them.
There were moments where I couldn't tell if they were playing towards their defense because it was the best thing for them to do, or they were playing towards their defense because if they didn't do so and tried to run offense like they want to run offense, that it would blow up in their face because they can't execute. Because that's what it came down to. Like you said, they found something in the Bengals game. Yeah, when I found something, I think they found, right, this is the way we have to win. All right, we got to kick 5 field goals and score 1 touchdown. That's going to be the way we win. We get to Baltimore, we get to 17 points, and it's 17-7. Let's just hold court, because Andy and the Mahomes that I know and that I want to start seeing now, that 17-7 means let's go ahead and rip their hearts out and make it 37-7 or 37-10, or let's just run it up and run them out of the gym. I hope that is back. And they at least appear right now to have the pieces to have fun. Like last year, that was a big thing. I don't know that they had they had pieces to have fun. Even if they had some guys with speed, guys didn't catch the ball consistently, guys didn't run routes, the quarterback was off, the line was off. They appeared at least have personnel to have fun. And ultimately, I think the statement of have fun is still be able to be led and play through their offense and try to score points and not just have to say, hey, y'all, we get to 17-20. Let's just go ahead and just throttle this thing down. And that's the best way we're going to win. I think they at least have guys to at least do that.
I think their lack of any kind of explosive plays offensively last year was just like there's no way that was by design. It was a function of the offense, an offense that was dysfunctional. They had no ability to push the ball down the field at all. Nobody could do it. And so, like, I heard Eli Drinkwitz talk about this earlier this week. Ron, he's the Missouri football coach, and he's really good at his job. And Missouri's probably going to the college football playoff this year. Cannot wait. Expansion of the college football playoff is going to be amazing. But he was talking this week at SEC Media Days, and he was asked about the defense, but it applies to the Chiefs' offense as well. He said, one of the things that we did a really poor job of last year was allowing explosive plays. And he said, if you're looking at statistical things that can lead towards winning, the most important thing in every game is just turnover margin, right? Win the turnover margin. You're going to win the majority of your games. He said second on that list, though, is actually explosive plays. You've got to out explosive your opponent. And the Chiefs had a really freaking hard time in doing that a year ago. And so if they're able to, with Hollywood Brown and year 2, Rashee Rice, whenever it is that he's available, and hopefully you get a healthy, fully formed version of Xavier Worthy this year, and then maybe you get one of the tight ends that ends up impacting the game in a way that they didn't a year ago. I think Wiley has a chance to be an explosive player. Like, if you get some of those things and they hit in the right way and they're able to do some new things offensively, like, now you're talking. And that's where the fun's at. The fun is in the explosives. And they've got to get that back to being a significant part of the offense. It doesn't need to be what it was in 2018, but it's got to be a hell of a lot better than it was last year.
Yeah, that's funny because I was watching Big 12 Media Days as well, and Lance Leipold, the head coach of the Kansas Jayhawks, who has really turned things around. They're a great coach and has an excellent chance with their schedule to get to a college football playoff as well. He said,
I so badly, by the way, want to see Mizzou versus Kansas in the college football playoff.
They televised Big 12 Media Day?
Yeah, dude, they were in Vegas this year.
Yeah, they're in Vegas. He says, don't worry about the logo. Don't be afraid to do anything asked of you. And they had some guys that were that seemed to not be able to do things that were asked of them. Of Kadarius Toney, who seemed to struggle. And I mean, some things at least you can understand with a rookie. And Rashee Rice, he was learning, but like that just seemed to be Jawan Taylor just couldn't seem to do the things that he was asked to do, and hopefully they have cleaned that up. But the fun, it had to be, and we talked about this from the jump when we were talking about the top 100. And understand that this is one of the best athletes we've ever seen. It had to be hell to have to dumb yourself down and to not play ball the way, like to say, hey man, can you be just can you be Trent Dilfer on steroids? Like the magic of asking Patrick Mahomes, hey man, we need you to be Trent Dilfer on steroids, baby. That's it. That's it. Just don't turn it over and hey, okay, all right, against the Niners, we may need a little magic here late. You think you can come back and be that guy? Hey, against the Bills, there, can you be that? Can you be that guy? But for the most part,
he was early career Brady last year. Was basically what they asked him to be. Like,
that's
hey, hit your marks, don't turn the ball over, control the game, play to your defense, like get your playmakers the ball in space. Just be 2004 Tom Brady for us, please.
Which kind of in a way was impressive because he was able to pull it off like that. I mean, that adds to his, like, he's like, hey man, I could be Aaron Rodgers and I could win a championship being Tom Brady or Trent Dilfer on steroids, wherever you want to put it. But no, I don't want to see that garbage no more. I really don't want, I don't want to sit there and think, oh God, come on. get a screen to Pacheco is one that could really break this thing open. Like I don't want to. They scored 14 points against the Dolphins and just never even come close to threatening a field goal, let alone to score the rest. I mean,
thank God for the defense. If they don't score that touchdown defensively, God only knoes what happens in that game.
Was it the Bengals game where they kicked 6 field goals?
5 or 6. Yeah, it was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. John Browning themselves in that game. All right, it's here, boys. It's here from here on out. Showing BK at our new home.
This time next week, we're gonna have real football to talk about. Like they got pads starting on Sunday. We're gonna have actual takeaways from real practices that we get to break down. I cannot believe we're officially here.
I'm football frisky. Here we go, Chris, for 3 in a row. We are out.